Good morning, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining me. I am Dr. Joshua Kolawole from Valdymas Intelligence, and today we're still talking about transformational or mentorship. But the twist about it today is we're talking more about accountability and measuring mentorship impact. And very soon you would understand why this topic was chosen. But it's excellent for you if you're an organizational leader, especially like a director of employee success, human resource, or personnel management. And you really want to understand how mentorship can help improve organizational retention, create an excellent framework for managing a mentor-mentee relationship, or even on a simple term, if you're just a mentee, you want to understand more about mentorship, or as a mentor, you want to understand more about how to improve your mentorship impact, especially as regards to this current generation. People have talked about a lot of understanding or generational gap between mentors and mentee because of different layers of generations that we have in the workplace. So all these are brought about the concept of accountability and measuring mentorship impact. So today, transformational mentorship, accountability, and measuring mentorship impact is the crucial discussion. And this conversation would rest on the two presentations that have been done based on the last two webinars from the last 2 months from Valdymas Intelligence, which had actually focused on transformational mentorship. I'd re-emphasize the fact that we're navigating an increasingly uncertain, unsettled, and unstable world. So you could wake up on a certain day and a good that is maybe $32 can all of a sudden become $60 just due to a trade war. You could find a lot of changes, climatic conditional changes. You could see a whole lot of things in our world that is rapidly evolving. Technology is rapidly disrupting things. And the workplace has been disrupted. People don't really understand what the future of work would likely be. And there's a lot of tension in both the old and even the young and upcoming, especially if you're trying to analyze what the path will be. People have talked about the T-type employee or the M-type professional who is multi-skilled, multi-talented, has 2 or 3 areas of expertise, just in a way to stay flexible, adaptable, and relevant for the future. So it's not a world where you either innovate or die. And because of this, you know what the pillars of innovation is: adaptability and resilience. So if you look at this, I define adaptability as the capacity to adjust to new conditions, learn new skills, and modify behaviors effectively. While resilience is that capacity to recover quickly from a setback and adversity, that emotional toughness to bounce back when you've been knocked down. So, understanding the dynamics of these two in a world that is increasingly uncertain, it's actually crucial. But you will not get the whole picture if I really don't bring these 5 core pillars of adaptability and resilience, because I've analyzed different trends in the life of great minds from several conversations I've had. And I've discovered that for everyone who had made it through an issue, a challenge, an adversity, it's been established that one crucial thing that people get, and this is what I needed to learn, is that pay attention to new relationships in your environment, especially when you're going through difficulty. There would always be 1-2 person that gives you like a kind of positive and supportive relationship. You could have many others who are, how do I put it? You could have many others who are just there in a general mode, but there will be this 1 or 2 persons who will be outstanding in the way they provide support for you. So positive and supportive relationship is crucial to the concept of adaptability and resilience, especially if you want to survive in a rapidly evolving world. But much more important than that is that you too must have this clear sense of self-identity, meaning and purpose. You must be clear about the true value system that you want to operate with. You have to prioritize integrity, honesty, transparency, openness, pursuit of excellence. You want to prioritize all this, and that defines or predefines some level of identity for you. So establishing that sense of purpose and meaning, it helps you to regulate your emotions, because of the up and downs in the way things happen. It's an unsettled world, don't forget, and sometimes things go so astronomically high, and another time it could come so crashing down, and you don't even know where to place your next move. And in that case, you need a whole lot of emotional intelligence to stay calm, to be good, even while the things around you are like the ocean becomes turbulent. I have this general joke that we use where I consult. Someone says it this way, and I'll say the other one. The first one is, we keep building the boat on the water as we go. Is that practically possible? You'd be taken over by water. The second way someone else said it like 2 weeks ago is that we keep building the plane as we fly. You cannot, in both scenarios, they look like an impossible circumstance. But we now live in a world where you have to thrive in impossibility, where you have to be emotionally stable and understand that along the line, you may have to pivot completely. You may have to take some 180-degree turn to be able to make some excellent decision and to be able to even adapt to the realities of your world. So if you're really not emotionally smart, intelligent, and stable or regulated enough, then it will be a crucial challenge. We also live in a world where problem solving is a crucial skill you must have. In fact, I love to say it this way: you must love problems. The capacity to embrace the onset of a problem and to think it through, understand that solving a problem would require you to solve it first in your thought process. So that means you have a team that are always thinking, always bringing birthing ideas. You must also commit to an unwavering growth mindset. Continuous learning, continuous thinking, continuous prioritization would really do you good. So, thinking through the whole concept of the kind of world we are and the reason why you need mentorship. I want you to know that it's only with mentorship that you can really gain clarity, gain a lot of courage and capacity to leave a mark in this rapidly evolving world. So if you listen to me diligently today, or if you try to listen to this video to the end, these are the crucial lessons you would learn. And I hope you would be inspired to do this. The first one is that you would understand why what mentorship is and why accountability is the missing link while mentorship is not really successful. Accountability from the mentor, accountability from the mentee. The other lesson you would pick is that it's necessary to measure mentorship process and how it really shows a result. The other factor I would like you to pay attention to is that you will discover different kinds of accountability that should happen between mentors and mentee. You would also learn some great idea about maybe tools and methods to track mentorship progress. You will be aware of the common challenges and even ethical issues in mentorship. And if you endeavor to listen to the end, I brought in a real-life example from Google, and I would also share some practical tips to make your mentorship effort more impactful if you're a mentor. And I want to admonish everyone, as you are being mentored, make sure you're also mentoring someone behind you, if I could use that word, quote and unquote. Or maybe someone you think you're more positionally or maybe professionally a little above. So if I'm a young graduate, I could be mentoring students. If I'm a mid-level leader, then I could be mentoring younger level and maybe student. Then if I'm a senior executive, then I'll be mentoring mid-level executive and younger folks. If you listen diligently, these are the practical things I believe you would pick from this training. So, accountability is a crucial tool, because if you set out to mentor, and that's why I laugh when a lot of people say, this person is my mentor. And I can't see that practical, active process of mentorship. I just keep quiet to avoid argument, but I just understand that that's really not mentorship. Because without measurable goal, you're like a ship without a compass. That means there's no direction and you can't even measure anything. So if you look at that, you would agree with me that mentorship must be a strategic relationship that fosters learning, development, and transformation. It thrives on trust, on feedback, on mutual commitment, and measurable outcomes. Mentorship is like a catalyst. Now, you know practically from maybe chemistry that you could have the positive and the negative form of catalyst. The positive ones are the ones that brings that energy, that catalyzes a reaction faster, produce more product, and then maybe lowers the energy that is required for reaction to start. And so, mentorship as a way of getting clarity and helping you to take faster decisions. But that's when you align it with depth of accountability, and I'll talk about that because there has to be some agreed goals between mentors and mentees. So I am drawing you from a world of general passive form of mentorship to a world of real active mentorship, because the world we are, we kind of like this passive relationship scenario. And I would also warn you about the pros and cons of both ends, and but much more importantly, I need you to know that a positive and great mentorship relationship is crucially needed for any form of growth you want. Let me paint a scenario for you. If you find yourself in a new environment or a new community, I always admonish people go to school. I found myself in Durban, February 2018, and I met some couple of Nigerian guys, and we started talking. And I noticed they've been around for 7-8 years, no additional degree. And the first thing that came out of my mouth after the interaction in the evening was, how come you guys haven't been able to add at least one extra credential to what you brought from Nigeria? And of course, you would hear different forms of excuses and everything. But I want to tell you that the easiest way to submit to a mentorship process is to go to school. So you would always have teachers who can easily be your mentor. So you would have professors. So if you're doing a PhD, you have professors. If you're doing whatever program you enroll in, you would always have mentor who could provide some strategic direction in that way. So if you find yourself in a new country, or if you find yourself at a point in life struggling with some things, I would say default to learning. Learning can now be in different forms. It could be a structured curriculum form of learning, as in a school, or a non-structured and unstructured form of learning, as in different other forms of learning programs, where outcomes are just decided maybe with certification and different forms of analytical method. But one advantage that enrolling in an academic institution or other forms of institution brings is, it brings accountability. You can measure rate of progression, because if you run like 2-3 semesters, you will know based on the whole curriculum what you have been able to cover. So if you do not find yourself actively as a learner who is passionate about learning, then enroll in a curriculum-based program, a certification-based program, a form of training where you get to speak to your mentor on a regular basis. The other part of it where I say accountability is that it brought commitment from both mentor and mentee, especially to roles and responsibility. And then, of course, there will be transparency about expectations and deliverable. If you brought that kind of accountable nature, then you will be the kind of mentee who wants to have some regular check-in and progress review with your mentor. So, and of course, the same way happens from mentor back to mentee. So, I can't overemphasize the importance of accountability, but just to mention some few points, it has a key role in both personal and professional development. It encourages consistent engagement and promotes a culture of excellence. Then you don't want an unstructured kind of system. I really don't like things to be vague around me. And that's why I'm someone who always seeks clarity. One of the most important features for me is clarity. If I have a challenge, I want to get clarity on where I am, what I need to do, who I need to consult, what are the costs required in terms of energy, in terms of intelligence, in terms of even in terms of character. You want to get clarity as soon as possible. So You don't want a vague system where you just say, in religious sector, people just say, is my father in the Lord, is my mother in the Lord, and they have an unstructured way of even having interaction with them. Or maybe in academic setting, the fact that he's your teacher does not make him an automatic mentor to you. You have to now make it more intentional to have an accountable relationship with a person that would bat that form of mentorship. So you have professors who have this regular touch base, maybe weekly, they have their Zoom program. You don't join the Zoom program, you don't do anything, and you just assume, maybe, or you join once and you just ask questions and you think that's just. If you want a regular cadence of development, then you need to start imbibing the culture of touching base regularly, establishing that progress review, analyzing things. These are what I'm planning to do. These are what I've done. These are the gaps identified. Perhaps you could get some more clarity. And guess what? I've always had that strategic direction at critical moment. Many years ago, I was at a junction where I wanted to choose between two options. And I picked up a phone and I spoke with one of my mentors who I regularly touch base with. I'd always regularly touch base with him. So we're just analyzing things, and he just explained something based on what he just read 2 days ago. And lo and behold, I got clarity about what to do, when to do it. Within a couple of weeks, I'd enrolled for the next program. So 2 weeks, a couple of weeks later, he just heard from the person he directed me to that actually enrolled for the program, that I've even done the training, I'd done the certification, and he was like, wow, I didn't even know you picked this seriously. So sometimes your mentor will not really even say those things like, this is the law or this is what you should do, but you would be able to analyze it based on everything you've been thinking. So it also ensures alignment in an organization where you have a structured mentorship program. It ensures alignment, and then measuring impact will become very effective. Now let's break it down a little. There are 3 levels of accountability. There is the self-accountability, which for you as the mentee, you want to remain accountable to someone. This is that missing link why a lot of people do not submit to the concept of mentorship. And I'll read out some few things that are responsible for what I just said. The first thing is cognitive dissonance. A lot of times we have a long-held belief and we don't want people to take us through a journey of mental discomfort. So because of that, you reject the voice of your mentor. Of course, fear of change is a good reality. Mindsets, we all have this limiting mindset, which makes us comfortable and we want to hold on to it. We know that once you start meeting with a mentor, there's a very high chance he will tell you things that you won't be comfortable with. And you'll now be forced to do things at a faster pace, and it will put you under a little bit of pressure. There's also the concept of ego defense, because in some cases, some of your mentor may actually be younger in terms of chronological age. And so for some people, either in terms of self-image or self-pride, or maybe even positionally, you think you're superior to the person who is mentoring you, and then it becomes a difficult thing for you to bring down that ego and actually listen. Or maybe you just think the person is my friend, and instead of treating the person as a mentor, you relate to the person as a friend. In some scenario, the person could be your husband, could be your wife, could be your younger sister or younger brother. And maybe in a very, very funny way, it could actually even be your son, who would be your mentor in an area. And it becomes a difficult thing for you to actually become accountable. Social pressure is also another reality. We are all tied to some set of communal values or system. This is the way it is done in our neighborhood. This is the way it's done in the church, in your environment, and because of that, then it becomes difficult. Then we've had people who had leveraged the mentor-mentee kind of relationship to oppress people in the past. So some people had been burnt, And because they've been burnt, they formed a form of defense against it. So I understand why self-accountability can be a difficult journey. And then a lot of time people talk about misidentification of mentors, that they always fall into the hand of the wrong people who they think will protect them, but ultimately. But I also say that for mentors too, they've also fallen into the hand of wrong mentees too. Mentees who now want to turn mentors to someone they get, maybe someone they milk out for funds, milk out for other opportunities. Some people have turned the relationship to a stepping stone to actually subdue the mentor and for them to rise. If you ever go with the mindset of win-lose, where you want to win and you want your mentor to lose, then that is not a healthy relationship. The relationship should be a win-win scenario. So because of that, self-accountability has been impacted. But I also want to submit to you that when we take ownership of our roles and responsibility, self-accountability is actually the excellent way to go if you really want to get the maximum benefit from mentorship. We also have the relational accountability. There's the mutual responsibility for growth, for reflection, and for feedback. So I do not force my opinion on the mentee, and the mentee should also not expect the mentor to do something at all costs for them. So we all must have that mutual responsibility for growth. So if you happen to be a mentor for someone, you always bring the ideas in form of suggestion, not in form of mandatory direction. I've been guilty of this before. I've always found a way to and because I think I see from all ends, but I've discovered over time that I've not always been right. So understanding people's capacity, understanding people's level of development. And sometimes you might need to allow time for people to catch up with what you're talking about. I'm sure I can safely use examples where you talk to people about you need to do this, and maybe for a couple of months and years, they even resist you on the same idea. And over time, they cling on to the idea, discover that was actually the right thing for them to do. And then you wonder, so how come you didn't catch this over a year? Or why did you have to wait for this long to get it? So, but when you have respect for the person's dignity of being human, you would understand why it took them a while to get to that junction. So relational accountability is another one. Then we have organizational accountability. You see, we talk about alignment with intentional goals, deliverables, and program metrics. So we have organizations where they've fine-tuned the mentorship program to the point where they align mentoring with intentional goals. And I'll talk about one of them, one of the FANG organizations. So when you say core component of mentorship and accountability, the first thing is, please, if you go into any form of mentor-mentee relationship, let there be clear, measurable objectives for the mentee from the beginning. Let there be a regular cadence of feedback, constructive evaluation from both parties. Let there be documentation as much as possible. It could be e-journal, electronic form of documentation, or paper-based, whatever form of journaling you want to do. And let this session notes or captures milestones, capture reflection, something like a retrospective of what's happened, what you had planned and what has happened, and what you've learned from what has happened as to adjust to the ongoing journey. And then we also have the mentor training program. As a mentor, please submit to subsequent trainings. I keep enrolling in different forms of training to become a better mentor and even to become a better mentee unto someone. So the system of accountability always creates a culture of responsibility and reflection. Remember, culture is crucial to everything we do. The culture you embrace will determine to a large extent how well you would do. So when we talk about the culture of excellence, is a crucial thing. And excellence always comes with the fact that there are clear, measurable objectives, and we are ensuring that we keep in touch regularly to be sure that we're actually continuously growing. Now, you know, impact is a word that has been used loosely. I was on a program, I think 7 days ago, And someone asked about the concept of impact. It's a word that's been used loosely because you see people talk about impact with in a short-term run. Impact is more of a long-term word in a standard project management understanding. If you want to get the impact of the things you're doing, you have to evaluate after 4, 5, or 10 years. And we even have impact over decades and centuries. But I would just use that word carefully here in the understanding of an outcome and an impact. So I hope you would understand with me. So when we talk about personal growth, when you submit to mentorship, you will talk about the early form of growth will be more of internal form of growth. Your confidence level improving, your clarity improving, your compassionate nature improving. You now start doing things more courageously, character-based, and then you start having yearning for better competence. When the yearning or you get tested to be more competent, when you get more tested, then your technical skills start improving. And the other side of the equation is your adaptive nature. That's the leadership adaptive nature also begins to improve. That's at personal level. But in terms of your career, you start noticing that people pull you into different projects, new roles. At first, it will be like you're being overwhelmed. And people jokingly say this, the reward for a good work is more work. Yes, but that's actually good for you. And I really need you to embrace that reality. And the intelligence behind that is that you need to now become more adaptive at handling the more work, because the more creative you are at doing the more work, the better the capacity you're building. And before you know it, you would have more work, and then it will butt you into a bigger role, where you now have more people to manage than the work. So over time, you have more people to do the work, and you will be managing the people who will be doing the work. But at first, you need to master the art of doing the work, doing it at a rate and with a skill that is beyond that normal range. And then at that point, it will birth you into a newer role. And of course, it comes with organizational benefit. There's a high chance of retention, improved performance. And if you carve the mentorship niche properly, you would see a lot of diversity in the way things work. Different ideas will start popping up. Someone had jokingly said in a presentation before that the mentor gives clarity to the mentee, but the mentee are always at the level where they gather a lot of frontline information from the mentor. So the mentee will bring frontline on the street information to the mentor. That's the mentee brings frontline on the street information to the mentor. The mentor processes it with his own matured mind, and he is able to birth clarity for the mentee. So it's a cycle, and both have that advantage. Now, the social impact is that in a community, you become a better leader. And then you have the idea of paying it forward, others before self, doing things that would help the community to become better. So impact would be both tangible and intangible. Intangible as to things you can't touch, feel, meaning improve self-worth, self-image, identity, competence, confidence, clarity, character. All these things are far more important than even the tangible part, because they serve as the bedrock for even that tangible advantage. Someone had told me before, can you touch wisdom? Can you touch love? Have you seen what wisdom, love, courage are done in the world? Humans have decided to even break through the barriers of the earth and start targeting to go to Mars, 14 million miles away from Earth. That is what courage, what wisdom, what the passion of humans, the intangible things that you cannot even touch, can do. So just wanted to drop that. Now, there are tools for measuring impact, and these tools are crucial for you to learn, because I won't go into the details of the tools, but I will just run through them. You have the SMART goals. We know the specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound kind of goals, which means at every point when you want to either have a mentee or you are a mentee to someone, make sure you come with specific objective. And so I've had people say, I only have one mentor before. I don't think that's practically correct, because I've never had one at a time. And I've had different mentors for different areas of my life. So I hope you would understand that with excellence of thinking. and you would adjust appropriately. You practically will not have a single mentor, even in a single field. You probably have different kind of people who would mentor you into different forms of either models, disciplines, thinking, framework, understanding. And so be careful and be very selective. Another thing I would like you to also know when you are making a smart goal in mentorship is also that these things could also be time bound. You can outgrow a mentor, and a mentor too can outgrow you as a mentee and allow you to drop for another person to mentor you. So it could happen either way. And then, of course, based on time commitments and all those things, there's a chance he might not even have time for you again, he or she. So it depends. So there's also the concept of the 360-degree feedback, where you don't only wait for feedback from your direct mentor. Now you seek feedback from friends, from family. What are the things you've noticed that changed about me in the last 1 year? And so they tell you the things that are different. And that also exposes one thing, your blind spot. So it's always good to ask this 360-degree feedback from people around you, families, friends, co-workers, colleagues. But please, I would urge you, be emotionally clear about who you are before you ask questions. Because some people have some hidden envy against you. And when you give them this kind of opportunity, they may actually want to get back at you. But if you're not someone with strength of understanding, by the time you get their feedback, you may not have that stability to handle those words. And sometimes those words may be valid and may need you to actually do some critical or fundamental rethinking of your life and readjustment of that area of your life. So because you have that dynamics, before you do a 360-degree feedback, make sure you are ready for it, emotionally especially. And maybe even more too, intelligently. Like you're both in your subconscious and conscious mind, you're ready for the response. You know, there's this popular statement that says, never ask life a question if you're not ready for the answer. And a lot of us go knocking when we're not ready for what will come out behind the doors. So be always know that anytime you're seeking a feedback, it might not exactly be what you're waiting for. In fact, that's the basics of both constructive and we've had destructive criticism. And people have said there's really no criticism that is destructive. That even when it looks like a negative criticism, it requires you to still settle down and ask the question, how did this negative criticism come to be for me? And then try to adjust things, at least within the boundaries of what you can control. Because someone else would have asked for the same criticism and they will not get the negative. All right, so let's move. So we have the mentorship journal or reflection log. There's this pre and post assessment kind of system where people do a pre-assessment and then a post-assessment. Then the next one is surveys. Surveys can be mixed method these days, quantitative and qualitative. And then we have several dashboards. I'll talk about the Google dashboard for mentorship, maybe when I get to the Google exam. So from the quantitative metrics part of things, I know this might sound a bit more technical today, but please, the reason why I'm driving this is two reasons. Don't forget, I need you to upscale or to improve the quality of mentoring you are having. Either you as the mentee or as the mentorship. That's the drive. And I need you to see things that you're missing out that would have probably improved the quality of mentorship you too should have enjoyed or you are giving out to people. And the second bit is, if you have not been actively mentoring before, please, this is a call to duty. Because we live in a world that is so unstable and people say a lot of negative things around us and we just allow it slide and we keep quiet. And you know this is a gap in knowledge. This is a gap in understanding from this person, but we decide to keep quiet because we don't want to put ourselves in a position of mentorship, hence the discipline and commitment that comes with it. But you're also complaining that the world is upside down. Are you not a co-conspirator? Are you not a co-collaborator? If you allow negative thoughts to flow around you and you really don't see a reason to challenge it. So because of that, if you also might be guilty of something. And so because of that, I also want to call us into the world of mentorship. But if you are going to do it, I need you to do it well. And those are the two drives for making this presentation. So the first one is engagement metrics. What would be the meeting frequency? Active participation. I love to admonish people to maybe come on a WhatsApp group, come on a certain group that would facilitate continuous communication. And people can drop their points. It enables continuous evaluation based on time. But as good as that is, it's also good to put in place some cadence of meetings. Either one-on-one, that's the best, face-to-face. But if that cannot happen, then we switch to virtual meetings. So meeting frequencies, participation, active participation here, feedback, quality of the feedback you get, and the number of sessions attended by the mentee. So we have a scenario and organization where you could be given 5 people to mentor. So this is where you need to judge number of sessions all the folks are attending. You know, people will just come up with, and there are genuine excuses, but there are also excuses that if you're passionate enough, you can subdue them and still go ahead and meet up with the sessions. The other thing you need to keep measuring is completion of goals or milestone. I remember many years ago, a mentor told me, you need to take on this program. You have to register this way. I'll send an email on your behalf. Once you get a response, do this. And I did exactly what he said. And we both took on the program. But trust me, I was a bit aggressive, and I just kept mopping up the knowledge. But one thing that I found was that the rate of understanding I had about the concept within a period of 2-3 months was massive. Of course, I completed the goal, each of the milestones, and then the whole goal. And it changed a lot of things around me. It changed the way I see things. I used to be someone who is more carefree, careless, but after that training, I became more meticulous than I used to be. And now the people who seem to be more meticulous than me before time now became less meticulous, and I became. So what I'm trying to say is, even though quantitatively I might not be able to put a score on it, I saw a change in the way I now start analyzing things. And it started to be a foundation of even the journey to transformation for me. So I just want you to understand that sometimes you would have quantitative, but sometimes you have more qualitative metrics where you will just see that your confidence level, things have changed around you. Then, of course, I got a new role, I got better pay. And then it's good to always have this mentee satisfaction survey to understand how you as a mentor can do better. And sometimes too, it's good for the other side too, the mentor too, to be evaluated by the mentee, just like the mentee would evaluate the mentor. And then one crucial thing that we always talk about in the world of qualitative measurement is anecdotal success stories. Those are the personal stories, personal success stories for people. We've done a project before, and one of the crucial findings we had on the project was the story of a child that was rescued. And you see, we presented those stories everywhere in the world, globally, and it served as a background statement for even getting a lot of funding for my organization then. So I want you to know that success stories are crucial. Another important thing you want to listen to is attitudinal improvement, behavioral or performance improvement from people. You want to learn what are the things that changed when you're mentoring them. Maybe someone that is less passionate about studying before now became exceptionally passionate, pursuing a degree and maybe finishing with a distinction. So you now ask them, what are the behavioral changes? The person can tell you, oh no, I don't read for more than an hour before, but now I can sit down 4 hours straight and read. That's a performance improvement. And so you could track things like that. Okay, for me before, I don't even know I could get an iPad and continuously read even at other hours. Or maybe I used to watch movie for 6 hours a day before. Now I dropped that significantly to 1 hour, and the remaining 5 hours I've done something like this with it. I've now enrolled on a YouTube training program. I've reduced the number of time I spend just listening to other things or music, and now I focus on listening to 2-3 lectures on YouTube or on my program per day. Those attitudinal changes, because you will not become great by watching movies. I'm sure you know that. Some people made the movie happen. So you burning your time to see movies, it's like wasting time. You also need to do something to make something happen for others to watch. There's this thing I was listening to during the course of the week that says 5% of people make something happen. I would even make it a little more robust. Maybe 5 to 10% of the world make things happen. 20 to 25% are supportive or watching to make those things happen. And the speaker says about 70%, but I could drop that down to maybe 60 to 70% of the world does not even know something great is happening around them. They just go through life and float. You don't want to be in that percentage. You don't want to be a socialized mind. I'm always very, very, very against being a socialized mind. At least be an evolving mind, an excellent one at that. Try to support something great that is happening. Perhaps you would also break through and become the part of the 10% and make something happen. So, success stories are crucial, but is built on the grounds of excellent mentorship. So, we need a balance of both quantitative and qualitative measures. Please, as a recommendation for effective mentorship, accountability, at every point, set clear and measurable goals at the beginning. Maintain regular communication and reflection sessions. Use structured tools for feedback and tracking. I'll show you one very soon. Involve third-party facilitators when necessary. Don't just turn yourself to the sole this thing that could. If you think you have another friend, another professional who could help a mentee, refer them. Let them have 1 or 2 sessions with them. Get other facilitators that could help open up their mind. If you have other videos that could help them understand things better, share. Don't just think you have to be the only one that can help people learn. And then reward and recognize effective mentorship relationship. So I want to show you a logic framework. You know, I love the concept of monitor and evaluation. So forgive me for that. I need to bring it into this so that you could understand I'm passionate about the concept of accountability. So there are 2 globally acclaimed mentorship framework I've always talked about if you listen to my presentation. The first one is REAIM. The other one is Logic. So I'm talking about this Logic framework, and it speaks to the concept of what are the inputs you're bringing into something, what are the activities, the processes that has to go into that thing, what are the immediate outputs, and then over time, what will be the outcome, and over longer time, what will be the impact. It's a logic model or a theory of change that I'm linking. And so I brought this table to explain what it looks like for Google. But you know, the FANG organizations, that's the Facebook, Nvidia, Google, Apple, and all these organizations, they have this standardized model or model for mentorship in the organization. So the input is that you always have trained mentors and mentees, and then you have an internal platform, G-Mentor, right? It's a tool. And then you have time allocated per week, 1 hour per week, and you have this program playbook and goal setting template. Those are the resources you bring together, apart from the human resource system that you bring together. And then what are the activities? You expect that you match the mentor to mentee properly. Monthly check-in meetings, career coaching, project guidance, other forms of mentorship. Then you have some training and workshop. Then you have some reflection sessions and goal tracking sessions. Those are the activities. And what are the immediate outputs you expect? Immediate output are number of sessions per time, maybe documented goals, mid-term feedback surveys, reflection notes, different kinds of mentorship engagement reports that comes out of that. Those are immediate output. Outputs are different from outcomes because outcomes are integration of outputs on a short to mid-term basis, which will now reflect on behavioral or knowledge changes in the person. Of course, I've spoken to the changes in confidence. I've spoken to maybe changes in the leadership skill of that person, improvements in promotion rate and all those things, retention, then cross-functional collaboration in the organization. But the most important one for me is always the impact, the long-term goal. Promotion and internal mobility, scalable leadership pipeline. Apart from the mentor report, there's now a form of empathy that will be developed in you, that even you as a person will want to mentor people who are younger compared to you. I want to say one of the basic things that moved me on a trajectory in my career had been mentorship, and I'm grateful for that. to those who had sacrificed their time to either write a letter for me, make a phone call on my behalf, believed in me and said, this is the only resume I would submit. And I would make sure, because I believe with this training you've done, you should be able to scale the interview. I'm grateful for all those opportunities. So I want you to know that the best practice is when you have a structured mentor-mentee pairing, you have a quarterly goal review and learning logs, and you have a form of anonymous feedback system, or something we call a net promoter score kind of system, where people can anonymously evaluate the whole process. And that's because you are more organized about the mentorship program. And then we have this 20% promotion increase observed the mentored employee. It's from Google case study, and they found out that mentorship is a strategic enabler of talent development. And I just explained to you that I can also be, I'm also I can bear witness to that. Please always establish something like a key performance indicator, encourage two-way feedback, celebrate short-term wins, invest in mentorship training, and evaluate and adapt continuously. The reason why I said this is that measurement isn't about control, because sometimes now, because you want to measure the whole process, you want to turn it into a control process. Understand that these things have to come with clarity and improvement. So you're institutionalizing a measurement system so that there can be both quantitative and qualitative way of analyzing if the mentorship sessions were even worthwhile. So don't be passive. Don't be a passive mentee, and don't mentor people passively. If you really want to take time out, we live in a world where people really need active mentoring. Active mentoring. We live in a very unpredictable world. I've seen people I thought had better nature and they've dropped the ball, and I thought just passively assuming you're mentoring people does not really work. You really need to speak to things as they are. You have people around you say things and you know this is from a negative mindset. This is not from a mindset that will help them with transformation. And you just keep quiet and look away. You need to actively be engaged. Now, I know people have to accept you, allow you, but at least initiate the process of helping. Now, if they accept that, great. And if they reached out first, excellent. If the organization structured the system, more excellent. But at least let us be, that's the best way to be your brother's keeper, if I could put it that way. Now, I would have to talk about some challenges in mentorship. I'm not naive to not understand that you will face problems. So I'm encouraging you to be brave. Understand that there will be some degree of subjectivity in the things you do. There will be a lot of difficulty in attributing or correlating success solely to mentorship. And you know, there's this temptation that as a mentor, when your mentee is succeeding, you even want to stand at the top of the podium to scream out loud that, look, I am I'm the Alpha and the Omega. That's a temptation you don't want to get into you. And you also don't want to, of course, make the mentor feel like the mentorship program did not work. So there's always that difficulty in attributing or correlating the success solely to mentorship, because the mentee also has to do other things and they have some foundational advantages they had themselves. Because people can now stand and say, I made you. And you don't want statements like that. Statements like that will destroy the fabrics of our community. No one wants to be oppressed, but you also should not neglect to give honor to whom honor is due at the same time. Now, you have challenge of limited time, inconsistent commitment, either from you as the mentor or from the mentee. You have inconsistent documentation. I remember setting out to mentor a young man a couple of months ago, and I needed him to review some videos and drop some summaries from time to time. He couldn't meet up, despite all the structured support and everything. And I understand with him, and it's totally fine for you to allow people be if they cannot meet up with the model you have, and you're not adaptive enough to embrace other models that probably may also work for that person as of that time. So it's understandable. So there's inconsistent documentation. Then sometimes lack of defined goals and documentation, and sometimes even of long-term follow-up. The capacity to follow up people on a longer term is becoming, because the capacity to even remain focused is a difficult capacity to embrace. If you understand me as a leader, you get what I'm saying better, because things are moving rapidly. You even want to jump onto the next curve of innovation. So then for organization-wide, there's always organization misalignment between the kind of mentorship people want and what the organization wants. And because the organization is the one arranging things, they want to make it based on their own strategic goals. What will give them that strategic advantage? But the people want a different thing. So now, excellent understanding from employee success department will now be to find a very close, or as close as possible, to align both together. So we as leaders, as mentors, as mentees need to be aware of these pitfalls and design our mentorship program to avoid this. I know there are ethical considerations also, which is a crucial one. Confidentiality of shared insight. People become vulnerable to you. Either on both sides, your mentor may share some genuine personal history or personal life story with you, things they have learned from their failure. And you as a mentee will go on the street or go on YouTube or go on Facebook and think you've had a discovery and you want to generate views and you want to drag the mentor. So there's confidentiality from mentee to mentor, and even the mentee might also expose their vulnerability to a mentor, and the mentor will mount the podium the next 2 weeks and you will start analyzing that. For some of you, I know you do this. These are real issues. And as I'm saying it, some of you can resonate perfectly with it. Even between father and kids, between parents, children, boss, subordinate, people have actually accused it themselves of, I told you in confidence, but I heard it from so person. And so many other stuffs like that. So this issue of privacy and confidentiality is a crucial issue. At every point, you must ensure that you don't, even with the best of opportunity, give people any opportunity to link whatever you're saying to a scenario, especially when it's going to compromise the integrity or the value of that person. Then the next thing is voluntariness and mutual consent in feedback. It's a crucial one. It's difficult to get people who would voluntarily want to do things these days, especially when money is not involved. Maybe for organization, you know you're being measured by that, but at personal level, it becomes a difficult one to do things for free. Then people don't want performance pressure. I know of people who had accused me before of, you're dispensing too much pressure on me. Don't you think you're encroaching into my space? I've had a lot of pushbacks in my little life, and I totally am fine with it. I've embraced, sucked a lot up too, and I've understood it. For some, I've decided to keep going on to support. For some, I've withdrawn completely. At organizational level, I've had people say, you're too critical, you're tearing us down, you're destroying our value system, you don't believe in us, you're a rebel. People will give you all sorts of names as a mentor when you're trying to take the position of a mentee. I know there are reasons why this may also happen, which may also be a fault of mine, totally, and I accept that. Because for some, they are not even seeing you as a mentor, but you're bringing ideas they think should come from a mentor, but they are not accepting you as one, and so that might also be a reason. But you also must understand that there is this performance pressure or manipulation that comes with mentor-mentee relationship that you have to manage very carefully. And then respecting mentees' autonomy in decision making. Ultimately, no matter where you do everything, if your mentee says this is what I want to do, you have to learn to keep quiet and allow them to do it, especially when they're adults. And you think, and at least to the best of your ability, know that they should be in a right frame of mind. Understanding that we are all different beings. You may not be able to see life exactly the way they are seeing it. And I've seen some cases before where the decision the person took actually yielded better results than I even thought. So I'm not ashamed to also accept the fact that I could also be wrong, especially about someone. So that's excellent balance. And that makes you humble too, and makes you understand that you're also not the God over anyone. So what's the future of mentorship looking like as I wrap up this whole concept? This is the third session, and I'm wrapping up in like a meaning. we need to get to a world where it's a data-driven mentorship scenario, where we have dashboard for tracking progress. Maybe AI-supported mentorship matching. Everybody's been accusing me of AI in everything now, but I think it's just the way to go. AI-supported mentorship matching, where you actually list the features of someone, their career trajectory and everything, and you run it through AI models, and it allows you to match people together. Perhaps, and then longitudinal impact studies. And then as a wrap up, maybe greater focus on inclusion, emotional intelligence, and life outcomes. So the future of mentorship will be more human-centered. Please don't forget, the human is the core, but yet it will be based on data information. So at this point, I would like to see if you have any question. You can listen and subscribe to my YouTube channel. There are other videos on transformational journey that you would see. I'm Dr. Joshua Kolawole. I'm a global transformational leadership trainer from Valdymas Intelligence. And I want to thank you for creating time to listen. So if you have any question, this is time for us to ask questions. Thank you.